This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of
enough. You can get the TrueFire All Access Pass for as cheap as they ever do it, the $99 thing. So just jump and do that if you're looking for the best price that you can get TrueFire All Access for.
Over the years, throughout kind of my gigging, so from about 2015 to, it's nearly 10 years now, right, that I've been trying to do music full time, getting out gigging and all of that sort of stuff. When I first started, I had a rig that was like 4-cable method with Pod XT Live and then a Pod HD 500X. And, you know, I've gone through the years, basically about 3-4 years ago, I decided, like, if I've got amplifiers, so I used to have loads of amplifiers, and I bought, like, tons during lockdown, sold tons, got through a lot of them, to the point where it's kind of like, I don't know what I was thinking, it's just some sort of weird fever dream. And now I'm at a stage again where, for the last few gigs that I've had, there's just been no need to have an amplifier. And the one that I did before that was basically just using backline. And I've got to the stage where I'm just wondering, do I even really need these amps? Is there any reason someone like me to have, you know, a bunch of amps in 2025 based on my life? And I guess there's also a bit of a cautionary tale here, which is like, be careful who you listen to, because I've been, like, you know, watching some video, I've been told in my comments, like, by, you know, a very respected person, like, if you try this thing, you'll never go back to using modelling. And I kind of think I was just a bit of an idiot. And basically, you know, I bought a Fryette power station because this person had kind of disparaged, like, load boxes in general. And then I bought a £1,500 windsock with a microphone in it, which I've not used since having it. So, like, there's, what is that, like £2,000 of just unused gear here to go alongside with the amps that I rarely use, because kind of my life is not like that person's life. And I kind of just wanted to do a video actually discussing what I'm really actually using and enjoying using live now. Now, I've also got 2 live clips to show you, and I don't know, I think there is a key thing to actually getting this modelling thing to be enjoyable live, but I don't need an amp to enjoy playing a gig live, which was what I thought I needed, but actually I don't. The annoying thing for me about using an amp live is that it probably brings with it the necessity to bring in a bunch of pedals and then building a pedal board and stuff, and you kind of then get this thing where it's like, I've got my clean tone, right? bring in a delay. Is it changing my tone? I don't know, possibly. I bring in a Nobels ODR1X. Let me turn on that delay now. Okay, I turn on a 5-watt world bus. So 5-watt world plus, now a Nobels ODR1 stacked with the plus. EQ. Now, all of that's really, really great stuff, but when I've watched myself and, you know, playing with my buddy Jake on stage and stuff, I just find myself kind of fiddling around with this stuff. I put on an expression pedal to control the volume, because when you've got two guitars and on stage with amps, it's kind of like, right, well, when he's taking a solo, I need to back off, but when I'm taking a solo, I need to have some more volume to get above like the noise on stage. So that is the one situation where I still feel like I kind of need to be using an amplifier. But in any other situation where it's not two guitar, I feel kind of more comfortable just using a modeler, and particularly using the Fractal FM9. I really, really enjoy this. The one thing that I do miss with it a little bit is kind of that approach that I was kind of just doing some stacking stuff there, because you're a little bit more fixed in place with it. But in terms of like, does it actually sound like I want it to sound? I've got to say, honestly, I just feel like I find it easier to get my tone with a modeler, and I don't know why that is. And I think, like, I can get there with pedals, and this is the real other point. I think essentially when I look back on videos and stuff, I do sound more or less the same using whatever. The key, I think, is that if you're going to be going down this route with the modeling stuff, I do think it's important to find a way for you to hear yourself on stage, and that can come in the form of a thing which is basically the same size as an amplifier anyway. This was one of the things that I kind of thought, well, why am I not just taking an amplifier? If I'm taking an amplifier shaped object, then I might as well be taking an amp. But I do think that it then changed the way that I was doing things a bit. So I've then put together like a hybrid board like I've got over there, where it can go to the front of house with an HX stomp, or it can come back to an amplifier, both at the same time. I could do the same thing with just the Fractal FM9. I don't have to worry about an effects pedal board and all of that sort of stuff. The switching is more practical for live use, where you can then just worry about playing the parts. I'm also doing sound live as well, so in some cases, like, it's just one less thing to worry about. But yeah, I've been using the ToneX Cab live. Prior to that, I was using the Fender FR12. Both of those, I think, are really good options in terms of they don't do the same thing as like a normal PA speaker just does, where it like just makes your tone super spiky. I've tried some other more expensive stuff recently, which did kind of just bring loads and loads of that brightness, which I don't really appreciate when I've tried to dial some of that out with a modeler, because I think that is the high end of a modeler is still where I think we can be kind of sensitive to these fizzy things and stuff like that. But honestly, I don't know. Let me know in the comments whether you've found your way with like the modeling stuff. I'm sure there's going to be loads of people that have tried it and gone back, not been totally happy. But I think for me, personally, like at home, I'm 100% using modelling almost all the time, and to the point where it actually is a little bit annoying to use an amp because they're quite loud. You know, what time of day can I actually use it? I'm in the room with it, you know, sat 1 foot away, 2 foot away. I don't have a studio. I don't have the luxury of having a room where I can stick a cab in and stick a microphone on it. You know, I've got some nice gear here now to record amps if I want to, but the room is not treated. So all of these things for me, just the modelling side of things just fits into my workflow a lot better. And I can hear things. I can hear like the guitar, I can hear the mix, I can hear the click. If I play with an amp, all of that goes out the window. Now, also the thing live is that I'm going to be using earplugs if I'm just using an amp anyway, or I'm going to be using in-ear monitors if I'm on like a function gig, in which case I do also see what Rob Harris from Jamiroquai is saying now, like about this consistency thing. And I get why so many pros are kind of deciding or being told essentially that just leave the amp at home. Like, it's more predictable. You can, you know, have someone else fill in on a gig and you could use the same preset. Like in the West End, I think that is quite a lot what happens, right? They just have like a Helix that comes along for the show, and you know, whoever's plugging in uses that. There is something about this predictability element of it, as well as venues these days, particularly in the function scene, not wanting loads of stage volume. And yeah, this is the one thing for me, that if you're just playing a modeler with only in-ears, it's a really very different experience, and I would say worse in a lot of ways. If you have an FR on stage that you get along with, like for me, the ToneX Cab or the Fender FR12, those are great. I guess there's loads of solutions that you could try, but what I'm saying is that essentially the amp part of it is no longer that important to me. Like, I'm having as good a time if I've got an FR12 or a ToneX Cab on stage, and actually I think I can get slightly better tones and more predictable tones out of the modelling gear, where I'm not relying on sort of pedal stacking to get my tone. I'm kind of just dialing in and going for like an ODS, HRM, or whatever it is that I'm ending up to get the tone. I just feel like I can sculpt it a little better in modelers. That's kind of my feeling on it. I do feel like a bit of a Burke for buying a Fryette Power Station and a Royer R121, kind of because someone told me that I probably should have these things, or that I would never go back to modelling. You don't know my life, bruv. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on for me. If anyone wants to buy a Royer R121, then feel free. I don't think I need it. Or loads and loads of amps. I've got a deluxe reverb here. I've got a 1965 Pro reverb underneath. This is not because I don't have access to good amps. It's just that they don't really fit into my workflow. The gigs that I'm doing, people don't care if you've got an amp or not. Except for the Jake Loosemore gigs, which I do need to keep an amp around for. Speaking of, that guy's had an amp which has been with a tech for about a year. I think the reliability factor of amps has to be coming into question at this point as well, because for us that was like the one local guy that could do this stuff. Like, he's a few miles away from me, and he's not reliable now. So it's kind of just getting really tricky. Like, if you rely on an amp for your stuff solely, like Jake has switched to the Fractal FM3 now for his function stuff, like the amp is going to come out for important gigs, but the normal working gigs, not really using an amp anymore. It's kind of interesting to me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But yeah, I don't know, I flip-flopped on this a lot and thinking like that there was importance to this using an amp thing, but you know, 1 or 2 or 3 of us guys can't save the amp industry. It is what it is. There's loads of amps out there anyway, and it's just about getting the job done with whatever you can and whatever you're happy with. And for me, modelling at home, so when I'm doing stuff live, it also makes sense to just try and bring that modelling stuff to a stage volume that's appropriate. It doesn't have to be blasting anyone's ears off or anything, but having some stage volume is, I think, the key to making this modelling stuff actually feel and work well live. And once you crack that, do you need the amp and the pedal board anymore? Like my pedal board, like that's £2 of stuff. The amp is £1 of stuff with maintenance costs as well as the time that goes into trying to plan that pedal board. Like I've done a few videos on it and trying to get it to work and trying to feel comfortable with it, getting involved in switches and stuff like that. When just it's all ready for me to go on the modeler. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Cheers.